If you're taking IGCSE First Language English from 2027 onward, the paper is different from the old one and the marks have moved around in specific ways. On paper 1, the old paper had 3 questions worth 30, 25, and 25 marks, adding up to 80. The new paper has 4 questions, each worth 20 marks, still adding up to 80. The total didn't change. What changed is how the marks are grouped. In the old paper, question 1 combined comprehension and summary into one 30-mark question, and question 2 was entirely about writer's effect, marked against an objective Cambridge calls R4, explaining how a writer's specific word choices affect the reader. That old writer's effect question was worth 15 marks, and it asked you to choose 3 examples from each of 2 paragraphs, 6 examples in total, and at least one of the 6 had to be a piece of imagery, like a metaphor or simile. In the new paper, comprehension is its own question worth 20 marks, and writer's effect is now split into 2 separate questions instead of one task. The first part is items 1FI and 1FII in the new question 1, worth 5 marks combined. These are small and specific. Why did the writer choose this particular word instead of an alternative? And what does this particular phrase suggest? The second part is its own question 3D, worth 10 marks, and here you're choosing 3 examples from one printed extract instead of 6 examples in 2 paragraphs. Writer's effect is still worth 15 marks total across the 2 parts, but the number of examples required dropped from 6 to 3, one extract instead of 2, and at least one of your 3 examples still has to be a piece of imagery like a metaphor or symbol, noted separately now. There's also a new question right after the summary, worth 5 marks. It's question 2b, and it asks you to assess the writer's attitude, supporting your answer with 3 details from the text. The objectives listed for this item are R2, understanding what a text implies rather than states outright, and R3, analyzing and evaluating using support from the text. That's not the same objective as the writer's effect, which is R4. Spotting an attitude and analyzing how specific language creates an effect are treated as 2 distinct skills in this syllabus, tested in separate questions. Because of question 2b, text B needs to state an actual opinion instead of being neutral and purely factual, which is a shift from how text B has often read on older papers. The extended response, which used to be question 3 and is now question 4, changed in a way that goes beyond the word count. On the old paper, it ran to 250 to 350 words and carried 15 marks for reading and 10 for writing, 25 in total. On the new paper, it's been trimmed to 250 to 300 words, and the reading marks dropped from 15 to 10, while the writing marks stayed at 10. The reading marks on this task are a third lower than before, in absolute terms. With less space to write and fewer reading marks available, a strong answer now depends more on selecting fewer ideas well and expressing them precisely than on including a wide range of ideas from the text. On paper 2, the old paper had one directed writing question worth 40 marks in section A, split internally into 15 reading marks and 25 writing marks, based on both texts. The new paper splits that same 40 marks into 2 separate questions, 1A and 1B. Question 1A is new, worth 5 marks, and it asks you to evaluate a character's attitude using details from the text. Paper 1's question 2B also asks you to assess an attitude, but check the objectives listed against each one and they differ. Paper 2's 1A is marked against R3 and R4, whereas Paper 1's 2B was marked against R2 and R3. Both new short questions ask you to identify a writer's or character's attitude from how something is written, but they're marked against different objectives depending on which paper you're on. Paper 2's version is the first time R4, the writer's effect objective, has been tested on this paper. Question 1b is the directed writing task from the old paper, now worth 35 marks rather than 40, with 10 for reading and 25 for writing, and the word count is unchanged at 250 to 350. The 5 marks for question 1a came out of what used to be part of the reading allocation for the old combined question rather than being added on top of the existing 40. Section B, the composition section with the descriptive and narrative choices, is the same in both versions. Same 4 prompts, same 16 marks for content and structure, same 24 for style and accuracy, adding up to the same 40. The only change is minor phrasing in the level descriptors, not the tasks, the word counts, or the mark allocations. If you've been practicing narrative and descriptive writing against the old criteria, that work still applies directly to the new paper. To sum up, writer's effect on paper 1 went from 6 examples in 2 paragraphs to 3 examples on 1 extract, at the same total marks. The extended response lost a third of its reading marks, in addition to a shorter word limit. Both papers also gained a new short question worth 5 marks each that asks you to identify a writer's or character's attitude from the language, marked against different reading objectives depending on which paper you're sitting. That's it. That's all the changes in the new syllabus starting from 2027. Now, how do you get started studying for it? Well, you can use my website, englishgpt.org. It's a website that provides you with a custom study roadmap, marks your essays, gives you feedback and study notes, and much, much more. Click the first link in the description to go there. Good luck and goodbye.